Alright, so we're looking at, the first thing we're going to be looking at in this one, section 1.1, is we're going to be looking at what real numbers are, absolute values, placing numbers on a number line, and some properties. Okay, so it's going to be getting us ready to tackle this Algebra 2 stuff. Alright, so the first things first, real numbers. So what real numbers are numbers that you can think of and you can see, and you can visualize, you can give an actual amount for. And so most numbers that we deal with will be real numbers. Later on in this class, we will be going over imaginary numbers, which is a separate category. You know, it's this little bubble floating out here. These are the imaginary numbers. But we're not going to be dealing with those right now. What we're going to stay with is we're going to deal with the real numbers as of now. Okay, so real numbers are broken down into different groups. Okay, and here's kind of what it is. Okay, you've got like different bubbles within bubbles. Okay. So the first thing first is your natural numbers. And what natural numbers are positive whole numbers. So any positive whole number you can think of, that is a natural number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1,000, 3,000, 34, 84, 65. All those are natural numbers. Okay, those are natural numbers. Now whole numbers, the next category down, are whole numbers. Whole numbers are all the natural numbers and 0. As you can see in the previous one, natural numbers, all these fall within whole numbers and fall within integers and rational numbers. So what we kind of do are, underneath rational numbers, we have like different subcategories that keep going in and in. It's like a Russian nesting doll. Okay, they go inside themselves, or if you want to think, it's like numberception. Okay, numbers within numbers within numbers, all these different things. So a whole number is all the natural numbers and 0. So once we add 0 into it, then we go into our whole numbers. Okay. The next one after that is integers. Integers are all the whole numbers, and then we also include the negative whole numbers. So as we look back here, integers, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and then of course we've got like -84, -74, 95, 74. Those are all integers. Okay. After that, we have our rational numbers, and rational numbers are any number that we can make a fraction out of integers. So a fraction like 34 over 17. That is a rational number. Okay, 98 over 39. That's a rational number. Okay, we can make a fraction out of them. Now, to identify if it is a rational number, if the number stops, so if it's a decimal and it stops, 0.3, -1.01254, those stop. Okay, they have a natural stopping point. Those are rational numbers. Those can be put into fractions. Anything that is a fraction, -5/4. If you have a number like 1/3, which if you write that as a decimal is 0.3333, and it keeps repeating itself, it's always 3. If it's a repeating decimal, that means it's also a rational number. So if it's a repeating decimal, it stops, or it's a fraction, it's a rational number. Okay. The last category, which is in this black section, kind of like a black hole, those are irrational numbers. That's like pi. A number that never stops is considered an irrational number. Okay, so if it doesn't repeat, you can't put it in a fraction. That is your irrational numbers. Okay. All right, graphing on a number line. So let's say you have a number line. So on your number line, you're going to draw your number line. Make sure you have arrows on both sides because number lines go off into infinity. One thing you're going to have to put is 0. Okay, that tells you the difference between positives and negatives. And then after that, you're going to want to place each of these. So you're going to put your hash marks: -1, -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's about good. And now you want to place these. Okay, 4.3 is going to be between 4 and 5. So you can put a little dot and say this is 4.3. 3.7 is closer to 0 than 4.3, and then root 8 is approximately about 2.8, approximate. So about 2.8, we're going to put another mark. And so that's doing your number line. So on your number line, you want to make sure you have your arrows. You want to make sure you have your 0 to identify the positive and the negatives, and then make sure you put all these in the correct spots. Okay, and this is just identifying where numbers are on a number line. Pretty straightforward. Okay, some properties. So the first one is opposite. So if I were to ask what's the opposite of this number, it's also called the additive inverse. And what the additive inverse is that if you were to add the original number and its additive inverse, you will get 0. So 8, the opposite of 8 is negative 8. 8 plus negative 8 is 0. Okay? If I had negative 3, the opposite of negative 3 would be 3. So as you see, all you're doing is that you're either adding a subtraction sign or taking it away. That's all it is. Pretty simple. The other one is the reciprocal. Reciprocal is also called the multiplication inverse. Okay? And basically what it is that the product of it will be 1. So when you multiply them together, you will get 1. Negative 4, the reciprocal of negative 4 is 1 over 4. So whatever the number is, okay, so if you want to find the reciprocal of, let's say, n, okay, talking in general terms here, n, the reciprocal of n will be 1 over n, okay? That's your reciprocal. So if I have 3 over 7, okay, the reciprocal of that would just be 7 over 3. Okay? As you see, all we're doing is that we're just switching them. That's all it is. You switch them around, and that gets you your reciprocal. Pretty simple. Pretty easy. So now here, find the opposite and the reciprocal of each. So 400, the opposite of 400 would be negative 400, and the reciprocal would be 1 over 400. Okay? So the top one is the opposite, the bottom one's the reciprocal. And the second one, negative 4 over 9. The opposite would be 4 over 9, and the reciprocal would be 9 over 4. Okay. All right. Now under 7, okay, on page 7, what you're going to do is that you're going to want to copy the properties that are listed here. This is like the distributive, associative, community. There's a list of properties here. You're going to want to make sure you write those down, and you want to make sure that you have them and remember what they are, so that if you look at something, you'll be able to identify what it is. Okay, so you're going to have to look at that in your book, page 7. All right, absolute value. Absolute value tells you the distance from 0 to a certain number. Distance is always measured as a positive number. You never say, how far is it from here? Oh, it's about negative 4 feet. No, that's just silly. You're not going to do that. So distances are always going to be positive. So when you're looking at negative 4, how far away is negative 4 from 0? Well, it's 4 units. So the absolute value of negative 4 would be 4. Now, if you're looking at 8, the absolute value of 8 would be 8. It stays positive. So absolute value kind of turns any number positive. That's what absolute value does. Pretty simple. Okay, your IRAT. So what you're going to do for your IRAT is you're going to answer each of these. So classify the following numbers, negative 48, root 7, 0.574, and make sure you write, if they fall into multiple categories, make sure you write all the categories that each of them fall into. Okay. And the second one, simplify. Simplify absolute value of 5 and simplify negative 0.45. So simplify these, bring these into class, be ready, and we'll be able to move on in class.